Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming here this afternoon. I also like to thank Steve for giving us this opportunity to do our sharing as well. We all have a story. Our story could be part of someone else's survival. I am Vignesh. I am a listener. And now I humbly invite you to listen to my story. This is my world. Let me introduce who's in the picture. That's me. That's my one and only son, Emmanuel. And we had a puppy dog as well. I'm a single mom. I'm still single, actually. Let me describe about the world, the beautiful world. Just me and Emmanuel. In his primary years, Emmanuel was such a bubbly boy. So friendly. Maybe he's just like his mom. And he was an extrovert. He likes to jump around, play around. I learned quite a bit from him. During my childhood, it was totally different, My parents were very strict. We never had real communication. Sit, stand, stand. Old school thoughts. I mean, the parenting styles previously, many years back. But I took that upon me and I told myself, I said, when I have my family, I want to make it different. I want to make it beautiful and wonderful for my son. So we always had an open conversation. Whatever he does, he tells me. Whatever I do, I share with him. For example, when I come back after work, he'll ask me, Ma, how was your day? I'll tell him, I said, oh, Emmanuel, it's this and that. Likewise, hey, how has your school been? How many friends did you make? So we had a very open conversation. I was busy juggling with work and taking care of him. It was a tough job. It was really a tough job. There were some demands that he made of me as well. But I took it in my stride. I always think positively. And I instilled that in Emmanuel as well. I said, let's be positive. Even when he comes back with some issues in school and all that, I'll tell him, I said, hey, let's sit down and think about it. Tell me what your issue is. And then I brainstorm with him and get him to tell me the answers. I'll get him to share his answers. So I kept a listening ear. But something somewhere in my mind, there was a nudge. Why do people behave like that? Why do children behave like that? Why do I behave like that? I used to ask myself, how does the mind influence the behavior? And why do we behave the way we behave? So at the back of my mind, I've always had the interest in psychology. I've always had the interest. So I did tell Emmanuel this as well. But I kept it aside for a while because I wanted to give him my full attention. He had a lot of friends and I used to invite his friends because I want to know him. I want to go into his world. I wanted to know his friends. I invited him. I invited his friends and they got to know me. I got to know them. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the old school thought popped up inside. I said, this is what I told him. I said, you don't do well. You're going to sweep the drains. You're going to wash the toilet. He said, Ma, is it true? See, this is the thoughts that sometimes just pop up. This is how our parents used to tell us, right? You better study, you better become doctor, lawyer, and all this. But I was open with Emmanuel. But he was a smart boy. He picked it up and he did pretty well. He did very well in his primary years. He was on the chubby side. Everyone used to pinch his cheeks and say, you're so cute, la, you're so chubby, la. But I didn't realize that even my words could have had an impact on him because I used to tease him as well. Hey, you're so fat, la. How come the clothes that I buy can't fit you? I could buy teenage size clothes or adult size. And he gets very annoyed when I tell him that. But it's not all about beautiful picture there, but there's also quarrels. I used to have misunderstandings with him sometimes. I didn't spare the rod also. There were times when I had to reprimand him. But before I do that, I'll get him seated. I will talk to him and we will reason out. When he tells me, Ma, yes, I deserve the punishment, there goes the punishment. If he says no, even if I'm in the wrong, I apologize to him. Because I'm his role model. And he tells me that whenever Mother's Day comes or my birthday, he'll draw a picture of a super role model there. Ma, you are the superwoman, the superhero of my life. So I was a walking role model for him. And then there were some challenges started creeping into our beautiful world. I was retrenched. It's a bit tough. I was retrenched. And I told Emmanuel that this is my situation. I may have to give tuition. I may have to go out and work. And he was pretty upset because we used to sit and we laugh. We used to joke. Even during dinner time, we used to sit and laugh. Even his games, when he plays online games, I used to share. I used to ask him, how do I play? What is it all about? I went into his world to know what is it about. So when I come back after work, he would tell me, Ma, you still look so vibrant. How? I said, positive attracts positive. That's what I've been telling him all this while. But when the retrenchment came and I lost my job, it was so tough on us. Financial, then I had to struggle, I had to make ends meet. It was really, really tough. I even had to go for financial aid. And I told my son, it's okay. I told him, man, it's fine. Come, let's go and get some groceries. It's okay. So I taught him about hardship as well. But I never shortchanged him at any cost because I still want to give him that joy, that home that I had built, that beautiful world of ours. You know, that when he went to school, he was also bullied. People call him fat. But Emmanuel didn't tell me all this. He kept it to himself. And he used to feel upset that when people call him fat and all that, he used to feel upset. He said, I find it difficult to run Ma and all that. So I told him, I said, hey, you're looking cute. It's okay. It's those baby fats. That will pass. So I also put him a diet. I wrote up a diet for him so that he can follow the diet. And he was happy with it. So we went on like that. There were struggles, but there was happiness. Every day, it was like days when we were struggling, days we were happy. So we stayed afloat. We stayed afloat. Then one day he asked me, Ma, at that moment, at that period of time, my ex-husband used to come once a year to visit him. So as we were going on, but that didn't affect him. It didn't affect him. Because I had to work mother-father role as well. So it didn't affect him. So as a fatherly role, I had to be stern with him. Motherly role, cushion him. So when it came to P6, I stopped caning him. I said, let's talk. So we started talking about a lot of things, even things that he did, things that I did. So we sort of reminded each other. My son would say, Ma, today is our talking time. This time we have to talk. Ma, every night I tell him stories. So we used to sit down and I tell my story and he tell his stories. And he likes real stories. That means I tell him about my teenage life as well. At this point of time, as I mentioned earlier, he asked about my ex-husband, his dad. So, how come Papa cannot stay with us? So that got me thinking, was he missing his dad? So I told him, I said, we had differences and that's the reason why we had to be apart. But nevertheless, I invited the father back. And that was the time I was retrenched. Emmanuel was he was moving on towards his teens. And also that time, my learning journey started. When the father was down, we had quarrels. We had misunderstandings. The environment that I created for Emmanuel was disrupted. And Emmanuel got scared. The extrovert slowly moved towards the introvert. He used to hide when the quarrels come because the father used to raise his explain to Emmanuel that when you have a family, this is how it is. We'll have quarrels, we'll have misunderstandings, but we will sit and talk it out. But as he saw the quarrels getting more and more, I knew that it was disturbing him. And he was slowly, gradually spiraling. I noticed that. So I told myself, I don't want this to go on. So we talked things out. Emmanuel told me, Ma, I'm sorry that I had to ask him to come back again in your life. I think I've seen it. Maybe you want to tell him to leave. So I told him, I said, it's not easy just to tell him to leave like that. There's a process to go through. And he said, I'm sorry, Ma, I put you through this. I said, it's okay. At least you know, you experienced it. So we tried to work it out, but it broke down. So he left. But a little damage has been done. So I decided to start my learning journey. My parents, my good friend, and my Emmanuel encouraged me. They said, go ahead, Ma. You've always had this burning desire inside. I think you need to go. And I started my learning journey. 7 years. I did my certificate course in Counselling Psychology, my diploma degree followed by my master's. I started understanding what is the mind all about? How did the mind influence the behavior? And that was the time Emmanuel went into his secondary school life. He had a hard time in secondary school. Though his academic wise was doing fine, he pressured himself quite a bit. He pressured himself. He was doing so well, there was competition in school as well. He pressured himself. He took it upon himself that he wanted to do well. There was school refusal. He didn't want to go to school. I asked him why. He said, no, Ma, it's too much for me. I said, hey, Emmanuel, step back. It's okay. If it's too much for you, because he was interested in sports science. I said, if it's too much for you, I'm fine. It's okay. What is your passion? Just go. We'll go with that passion. So I used to drive him to school because he started isolating himself. He started isolating himself. He started feeling very uneasy. He didn't want to talk to people. He started staying at home most of the time and playing games. There was a withdrawal there. And I was still doing my studies, trying to learn about what's happening. Why does he behave the way he behaves? It was a struggle for me because I had to work, I had to study, and I had to see to him as well. And I know that he was doing pretty well, but he was withdrawn. He didn't want to go to school, and I had to contact the teachers, and I had to build a bridge there. I had to bring him for his national exams, and he did pretty well in his national exams. He didn't want to continue. Said, no, Ma, I don't feel like continuing. I don't feel good about myself. I feel very disturbed inside. And he broke down in front of me. As a mother, I said, hey, just like any parent, you can snap out of it. Come out quickly of it. This is nothing. You will move on. This is a phase. But as a counselor, I knew that this was the teenage struggles that he was going through. The environment that in the short period that he experienced, some bitter environment. As a person, I asked myself, I said, why do people go through this? What are the factors that contribute to this kind of behavior? So I decided, I spoke to him, I said, come, let's go to the child guidance clinic in IMH. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Because I'm a counselor, I'm studying for psychology, I know what is it about. So I told him, I said, come Emmanuel, let's go. I brought him for his treatment. I spoke to the doctor, spoke to the case manager. He was on medication for a period of time. There was still love, there was still fun. We had our fun during that period as well. He used to go out with movies with me. He was in his teens, 16, 17. He still say, Mom, I go to the movies. I like to go with them. I like to go with for a movie with you. We still go. I still tell him that I love him and he tells me that he loves me. I still hug him and he still hugs me. At that age, yes, he does. He used to go out with his friends. After the treatment, I saw little improvement. He said, Ma, I'm willing to study as well. I said, good. I enrolled him. He said, Ma, sports science may not be for me because after I went through this emotional roller coaster, I don't know, I'm feeling the depressing mood and all that. I said, fair enough. I said, what would you like to study? He said, he wanted to study mass comm. And if you see the picture, that was a picture taken when he did his advanced diploma. He completed that and was moving towards degree. Then there was a relapse. He started struggling once again. And I was in the completion of my master's. He started spiraling. He didn't want to talk to anyone. He was always quiet. He'll be sleeping probably the daytime he'll be like sleeping all the way, and night he'll be awake playing games. A couple of times I've asked him, I said, what's happening? Are you facing some difficulties, some struggles, some challenges? Let me know. He told me this, Ma, it's too much for me to handle. It looks like I'm having a relapse. I'm going to end it all. So I said, what do you mean by ending it all? He said, no, I want to kill myself. I said, okay. Have you thought of a plan? I mean, are you thinking of doing something for yourself? I mean, what was your plan? He said, no plan, Lama, but I just find it so difficult. As a mom, it hurt me so much. I said, I had to put different hats, right? I quickly put my counseling hat and I told him, I said, okay, maybe this is the phase that you're going through now. Should we go back to IMH and should we, get your case opened again and probably you can go for treatment? No, Ma, it's too much for you. I don't want to put you through this. It has been very hard for you. I said, you are my son and I love you and we are in this thing together. We can save. But I think it was too hard for him. There were times he was smiling. There were times it was so hard on him. As a mom, it was so painful to see my son going through that. As a counselor, I know where he was coming from. I was very positive with him at that time as well. And he asked me, how come this time you can be so positive? Huh? I kept reminding him, I said, positive attracts positive. Nothing is permanent. Today you feel like this, tomorrow you feel good. So we have to keep ourselves going, moving. So there are times he used to be alone. When I'm off to work, he used to be alone. But nevertheless, when I come back, he makes me a drink. He helps me with the washing, the laundry. He tells me, Ma, you are tired, you sit and I'll do it. Then he told me, Ma, I got my results. He was still going for his classes. Despite of his struggles, he was going for his classes. Because he said, Ma, you can do it at this age, at the age of 40 plus, you got your master's, so I can do it. I want to do it. So at one point of time, I motivated him. The next moment, he had his own dreams, society norms. He was fighting with all this. Society norms, what will relatives think, what will people will think about me, about my mom, his dreams, my dreams. He had too much to bear within himself. So I told him, I said, there was a time when he was pretty quiet. I stepped back and was just observing him, what he was going through. And I come in at the time where I can sit and talk to him and tell him and explain to him what is he going through. Then there was once I did meditation with him. I made him sit down. I did this mindfulness meditation and he told me, Ma, I felt good. Ma, I'm feeling very good, Ma. Maybe we should do more of this. As time went by, 2015, that fateful day, my one and only son took his own life. He committed suicide. When I came back on that day, I was devastated. My whole beautiful world crumbled. Seeing my son motionless there. He left a note for me. He said, "Ma, I love you. You take care, yeah?" He said, "I want you to go on with life. What happened to me shouldn't happen to others. You know what I went through, Ma? And I know what you went through. Go out and reach out to the children there, to the teens there, to the parents, the caregivers out there, to the moms, the single dads. Go and help them out. I want you to move on. I love you, Ma." That beautiful world crumbled just like that for me. It took me a while. It was pretty hard and painful, losing my one and only son. Then I told myself, I said, yes, as a counselor, that's what I'm doing now, reaching out to parents, children, because it's one too many. It's really one too many. Children go through a lot of changes. They go through many changes, especially when they hit their teens. And we are their walking role models. We parents are the walking role models. How we behave, they behave outside somewhere, they will behave the same way. And these are the times when they go through changes. When they hit teens, I've seen many students, self-esteem, body image becomes very important to them. How they look, how they present themselves. Some even boys, they like to starve themselves because they want to look slim and trim, follow this idol, follow that idol. So these are the things that we need to look out for in our teens. Academic pressure. They feel that I'm not studying for myself, I'm studying for my parents, I'm studying for my relatives, I'm studying for society. What about me? These are the challenges they face. Peer pressure. He's doing well, she's doing well, why am I not doing? What will others think of me? Social media. Now, that's the biggest issue now, isn't it? Technology, if you use it well, it's a beautiful tool for you. If you don't, you become a slave to it. How many of them are looking for likes in social media? The moment someone says, hey, good, praises, wow, they feel that self-esteem so much in them. The moment they get no, drop down. That's it. So where do we affirm them? Face to face. Where do we affirm them face to face? Acceptance. They want to feel accepted in the sense of belonging. They want to feel accepted and sense of belonging in this community, in the society. They want to feel heard. Sometimes parents say, hey, how come my child in primary school so close to me, and then now become a teenager, he or she doesn't want to talk to me, always quiet, lock themselves in the room, looking for friends. This is the stage they are going through. It's change. It's not that they don't love you. They still love you. They still want your attention. They still want a listening ear. They want you to reach out to them. Just to let you know that the mental issues are on the rise. Mental health issues are on the rise. It's just happened that COVID has now currently taken the limelight. Sometimes we say that my child is naughty. He is naughty. She is naughty. Is he or she naughty? He or she is misbehaving, showing tantrums, being very rebellious. Is it the behavior or the child? It's the behavior. When a child behaves like that, there's an underlying need that is not met yet. There's an underlying need. The child is trying to tell you, Ma, Pa, I want your attention, but they won't come and tell you, please show me attention. They will not come and tell you that, not directly. But their behavior will tell you that they are in need. They still want your love. Because they go through changes as well within themselves, overwhelming. Can you imagine, as a teenager, peer pressure, social media, academic stress, all this, they have to manage within themselves. Even we at this age find it so difficult to manage certain things, isn't it? So what about the kids? And do you know that for boys, the prefrontal cortex, making decisions, only develop fully at the age of 20-25. Maybe girls slightly earlier. So that's why sometimes they behave in such a way. So the moment you meet, the behavior changes. Even adults. An adult will be behaving something, they show you temper, and actually there's a need. The moment the need is met, the behavior automatically changes. We sometimes straight away jump into correct our children, right? But have you connected with them to correct them? How much do we know about their world? Have we gone into their world to see what they have done? I know we are busy parents. We are busy caregivers. But you are their walking role models. They role model after you. They want to feel loved and cared for. They want you to connect with them. So before you correct them, connect with them. Once you connect with them, you've gained their trust. Support. Support your kids. Do you know that their preference change? They need the support from you. They need the support from you. Don't ask them close-ended questions. When you ask close-ended, they'll say, so how's school? Okay. Finish your homework? Yes. Open-ended questions. Tell me, what was interesting about school today? Open-ended question. Make a habit of chatting with them. They love to talk to you. Seriously, I tell you, they love to talk. You give them a minute, they'll take the whole day. They love to talk. Fix a time. Dinner time. Handphones, devices, out of the table. Sit and talk to them. They love that. Because sometimes we ourselves, so they also will. And then what happens? No communication. Familiarize. Find out. If your child is in the primary school, find out what's happening what's happening with them in primary school. Or if he or she is in the secondary school, what's happening there? Excite them with the experience. Not like, so how was your exam? Did you pass your exam? Your test's coming out, right? So can you do well? Excite them. What is school about? Making friends, of course, studying as well. What are the things that they learn besides academics? Encourage them to pick up a hobby. Hone their skills. Outdoor skills. I know we have our limited time because we have to work and we have to juggle, but they are our kids. We need to give them the time. And that will also help you to limit their spending time on digital devices. So they can put it aside because you have another activity, hands-on activity with them. Affirm them. This is also important. Affirm them. Remember that every child has got a strength. We are so quick to reprimand them, right? Hey, you this, you that, you're not good, you're not good, you are like this and you're a failure on this. Right? You need to appraise them. Hey, you did a good job today. An example, okay? I saw you had this unique ability to connect with people. You are so friendly. Be specific. Don't just throw out praises. You got to be specific with them, yeah? Praise them, even in front of your relatives. I had this boy who was not, the parents always tell him in front of the relatives, you're very shy, this boy very shy. He grew up to be so shy. And it took him a while for him to become an extrovert. Because he became very shy, he finds it difficult to socialize. So the same thing. Even if your child does something good, like say, for example, if your child has been helpful towards your parents, that means their grandparents, praise them. They like praises also. Empathize with them, putting yourself in their shoes for a while. The CB circuit breaker should be lifted up, I believe, maybe 2nd of June. If students are maybe going back to school, they may be anxious. They may be afraid whether they can cope, whether they can, complete their work on time, national exams, PSLE. Hear them out. Encourage them to open up to you. Help them to share how their feelings and thoughts are. So in a home, a nurturing home, these are the things. Support, familiarize, affirm, empathize. These are the things they need to have in a nurturing home. Besides the nurturing home, spending time chatting. Talk to them. Don't always talk about studies. It becomes bored also, right? Talk about the time when you were a teenager, you didn't have this social media, this handphone and all that. How did you communicate with your friends? Ask them, if you didn't have social media or this handphone, and how would you communicate with your friends? Get something new topic. Get them engaging. Ask them open-ended questions, which I mentioned earlier, about thoughts and feelings about current situation, COVID. What do they feel? How do they feel about the foreign workers? How do they feel about what's happening in Singapore or what's happening around the world? Some topics, different topics to excite them a bit. And also, most importantly, discuss with them about the boundaries of social media. We always have difficulty in getting them to controlling our kids to use the screen time, right? And because they're even past midnight, also they'll be on the screen time. Parents will say, I don't know how to control. I find it so difficult. So sometimes I'll ask the parents, how about yourself? Do you use them in front? Say, yeah, I also want to use. I say, precisely like they also follow, you see. Even I used to use them. Then I asked myself, I said, what happens if I don't have this? Why am I so glued to it? Yes, messages come, we do reply. It's a good tool. But then how do we set boundaries? Get the children to come back. Get the teens to come with answers like, okay, what is our screen time for today on a daily basis? Let them come up with some ideas, some suggestions, have some boundaries, some rules on the usage of mobile phones and other platforms and all that. I would like to just bring this quote from Mother Teresa. I love her works. In life, we cannot do great things, but we can do small things with great love. We can do that. My takeaway for today's session is that listen to your child. Listen to what they're thinking. Listen to what they're feeling. Because sometimes we miss out on those cues. Try not to provide advice immediately. They just want a listening ear. The moment you listen to them, the moment you hear them out, you build the trust. And they'll share everything with you. And they love to hear real stories. Your teenage life. They say what, so you adults having already what? So easy for you. How about us? So we're having a tough time. Tell them our struggles as well. How did we make it this far? I know you parents out there, you're wonderful people. But our approach may be different. Maybe we need to look into our approach because not one size fits all. We have to tailor it to according to the needs. Before I end, I want to thank you first for hearing me out, for giving me this opportunity in this platform. That's my contact details. That's my Gmail. You can also catch me in LinkedIn. You can drop me a note if you need to speak to me at any time, and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Back to you, Steve.